Welcome to episode 669 of Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media and other ways to contact me at the podcast page, and that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or accounts of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of my show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Troubled Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange, host of Troubled Minds Radio, for having me on the network and putting all my shows up there. If you'd like to support my show, you can share it with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platforms. You can find books I've written over on Amazon, paranormal fiction and nonfiction, including my most recent release, Salsido Paranormal Experiences. You can sign up for the Patreon page and get 1 extra episode of True Paranormal Stories from the web every week, whenever possible. Or you can just make one-time donations through PayPal. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows, from equipment to research materials to travel expenses in some cases. And I believe that takes care of everything, so happy to be here in the middle of, just about the middle of Halloween. Not Halloween, of October, which I think of it as Halloween. Doing these shows, and there'll be a mix, as usual, of regular shows and then more of my Twilight Zone review shows and throughout the month here, and that is the plan for the month as far as shows go. There will be 1 week, I'm not sure which week it'll be, hopefully the week of Halloween, where I will be releasing extra shows that week. So instead of 5 shows as usual, there will be 10. I will be putting out some of the regular shows and then some of the Twilight Zone shows. That is what I hope to do for that week to celebrate Halloween. And so yeah, that's the plan for all of that. And thank you all for listening here and supporting the show as well as you have, and for as long as you have. And let's get on to the stories here. So, this one says, when I was around 15 or 16, my 2 friends and I would go for 4 a.m. morning walks before sunrise when it was still dark outside. My friends would pick me up on their way to our usual walking route. Near my house was a cemetery down a hill with steps running beside it and a church nearby. One morning, I was getting ready when my friends arrived, running and screaming. They explained that while coming down the steps, they saw a figure of an old person carrying a large load on their back, climbing the steps between the cemetery and the church. At first, they thought it was an old woman heading to the market, but they noticed the figure wasn't moving forward, despite the appearance of climbing the steps. When they reached the intersection near the street, the figure should have been close enough, 10 to 15 feet away, but it had completely disappeared without them realizing when it had vanished. I was skeptical at first, thinking it could be an optical illusion caused by streetlights, shadows, or lights from the church. A few years later, I was walking home around 11 p.m. and saw the same silhouette of a person carrying a large load, walking up the steps between the cemetery and church. The figure remained in the same position despite appearing to move, similar to what my friends had seen years earlier. As I approached, the figure became more blurry and hazy, and by the time I reached the intersection, the figure had disappeared. I was not scared, but puzzled, and I tried to rationalize the experience by checking for any possible shadows or light sources. But I found no explanation for the figure. And that's where that one ends. I wonder if that was some kind of a residual image. I have no idea. The reason I wonder about that is the way they didn't move. I mean, they were moving. It looked like they were moving, but then they didn't go anywhere. They didn't advance up the steps. I don't know. That's really is amazing, and especially for them to have that experience after their friends had. But I feel like we can possibly rule out influence because there was a few years between when the writer's friends saw this figure and when they saw it, and they were the whole time trying to figure out what it could have been other than paranormal. So I don't know, but that's a neat one. I wonder if their impression of the friend's impression of someone taking goods to the marketplace. I'm guessing must have been there before, maybe still is. I don't know, because we don't know where this happened. But I wonder if that is what was going on there. If it was someone that used to walk that route on a regular basis, and somehow their energy got imprinted in that one spot. And if you think about, I can only imagine carrying a heavy load and then trying to go up a set of steps. That could be tricky, and at least to me anyway, it seems like it'd be tricky and frightening, and yeah, it could be stressful. So I wonder if that also could explain that sighting at that particular location of this figure. So, or if something else happened there that had nothing to do with that exactly, but yeah, I don't know. That's an amazing one though. This person being skeptical of what their friends had seen, and then years later having the same sighting, just about. So it's always amazing when that happens. I mean, you can get confirmation like that. Moving on to the next one here, and I just have to scroll down a little bit. So this one says, "I never knew what to think of the paranormal, but I had never experienced anything myself until this event. I work the graveyard shift at a 24/7, so basically all day, night, fast food restaurant that shares a building with a gas station. And I believe the building has a resident ghost named R. R isn't malicious. He just enjoys attention and likes to mess with people in small, playful ways, making them question their sanity." Yes, small, playful ways. Okay. Anyway, says one of R's favorite tricks is to walk through the locked lobby, making people think a customer has entered, but it's just him. At first, I thought I was hallucinating, but a gas station worker confirmed that others had also experienced this and knew about it, knew about R. Let me see here. R frequently walks through the gas station aisles and messes with door sensors, making it seem like someone is entering the building. All employees who work the graveyard shift in the building have encountered R at least once, whether by hearing knocking in the bathroom, seeing him walk through aisles, or mistaking him for a coworker. My favorite story is when R imitated me by wiggling the gate and setting off the sensor while I was out sick, tricking the gas station worker into thinking I was there. R also enjoys targeting highly religious people, like a former coworker, by turning on sinks and flickering lights to mess with them. It's not very nice, but anyway. Overall, though, I don't find R scary or negative. He's just a harmless, playful ghost who wants attention. And that's where that one ends. That is amazing that so many people in this location have had experiences like that and similar experiences and separate from each other, but then verified it after. And I don't know. I wonder about the history of the land there. But also, if you think about a building like that, you have a small building, I'm guessing a relatively small building, with a lot of electronics and a lot of water running through it. Not to mention people constantly coming and going. That is a lot of energy, all different kinds of energy. And I wonder if that, in some cases, can make it easier for beings to just hang out in these locations and just cause activity. And it sounds like constantly. And yeah, that's an amazing one there. Just the number of people that had experiences and I don't know. That's really sounds like he's also, whoever this is, has figured out how to do a lot of different things. It's not just one thing that you might be able to write off. It's flickering lights. It's knocking on walls. It's moving objects here and there. It's turning on sinks. It's just all these different things, making themselves visible. Yeah, very trickster-like in the chat there from Derek. Yeah, it's just very active. Just sounds very active. And I wonder, is this a person who, for whatever reason, is still there? Or is this, I mean, this whole idea of a trickster spirit, is this some kind of nature trickster spirit that is just there and is always there? Maybe they didn't even always have much to do with people in the area until this place was put there. And now it's just they can have all the fun they want. And I don't know, I could see that happening too, where it's some kind of another, not necessarily human consciousness, whether you want to call it fae or whatever, very there's these accounts of these beings all around the world. So anyway, I thought that was a neat one there, especially with just the amount of activity and the number of people that had experiences with it. So moving on to the next one here. I do love those workplace encounters though, because it just breaks the whole trope of it happening in a haunted house, in a creepy house. No, it's happening in a gas station restaurant. So anyway, let's see here. Okay. This one says, my sister and I both saw a mysterious white figure go up the stairs when we were young. I was around 9 years old, and my sister was 6 at the time. One evening, as our parents were watching TV downstairs, we were heading upstairs, to get ready for bed. It was dark, both inside and outside. I was walking in front and reached for the light switch in the hallway on the first floor, while my sister was still on the stairs behind me. Just before I turned the light on, both of us saw a white figure that disappeared the moment the light was turned on. My sister saw the figure pass by her, and it ascended the stairs, and I saw it go from the hallway up the second floor, up to the second floor, where my bedroom in the attic was located. We were spooked and ran downstairs to tell our parents, but they dismissed it, suggesting it might have been our white cat, though the cat was downstairs at the time. The figure was white, low to the ground, around the size of a basketball, and elongated as it moved quickly. It appeared to be semi-translucent, resembling white smoke or light, and had no human features, like a face or limbs. My sister believes it happened around the time our grandfather passed away, though I don't know if that is accurate. We never saw anything like it again, and are still puzzled about what the figure was. And that's where that one ends. I have no idea what they saw. Based on the description there, it doesn't sound like anything that you could really pin down as being anything other than just light. Again, another one of these encounters with a moving light so much that it was elongated. I don't know. And the fact that it never happened again is also odd in a way. That they never saw it again. I don't know. I mean, that I guess it could possibly be maybe the grandfather, but then it's hard to say. Seems like a sort of an odd thing to do, unless they were just trying to keep up with the grandkids somehow, or trying to get their attention. But that was the only way that they were able to appear. But I mean, it's hard to say. It could have just been some other being. Could have been just some other energy field that they were able to see this one time. Maybe that was even only there this one time, going up the steps. And I wonder also about staircases to begin with, this idea of this fairly small space where you have constant activity in a location, as far as living people, just and their pets, and the stairway. To go from one part of a building to another, you're going to use stairways unless you have an elevator, which, again, funny enough, those plenty of accounts of those being centers for paranormal activity as well. But this sort of space in between spaces that is used a lot, but you're never really staying there a lot, is also kind of, I wonder about that, if there's a connection there with activity and paranormal activity, and then the nature of that space. So, moving on to the next one here. Let's see here. All right. This one, let's see here. Okay, there we go. Found my spot. This one says, this happened in October of last year, on the afternoon of my mother's funeral. She was 85 when she passed away, and had spent most of her life as a piano teacher with a passion for classical music. While sitting alone in the living room, thinking about her, I suddenly heard classical music playing in the house. This surprised me because the house is in a quiet area, away from neighbors. After looking around, trying to figure out where it was coming from, I found that the source was my computer, which I hadn't used in a few days. When I woke the computer up, I discovered that the music was from a trailer for a Mozart film on a streaming video platform, even though I hadn't visited that platform in weeks. Typically, it would first ask who's watching whenever I open the website, but it did not do that on that day. My mother had always said she would come back to say goodbye after her passing. Was this her way of doing so? Has anyone else experienced something similar? And that's where that one ends. That's amazing. Again, you have this manipulation, as far as we can tell, possibly, of a device to play something that would have been important, or well, really was important to this person that had passed on, using a device, a program on a device to play classical music, which was a big part of their life. I wonder again how that can be done without. And it seems like the computer was manipulated, and yet it didn't show everything that was being done on it. That's an amazing thing in and of itself. It's not that the writer there saw the device turn on and the browser open, and then the address put into the website address put into the browser, and then the mouse moving, and then the trailer start to play. It was just playing. It was like somehow it was just this energy transfer manipulation, who knows how, of a device to get across a message in a way, possibly, from someone that was no longer in the physical form, but still there somehow, possibly, and in a energy and consciousness form, to do what they said they wanted to do back when they were alive, and to say goodbye to this person that was close to them. Really is amazing, if that's the case that happened. So let's see if we can squeeze one more in here. This one says, this happened when I was around 6 to 7 years old. I'm 20 now. During a vacation with my father, a family friend, his wife, and their son. While at the pool, I wandered off with, or while the friend's son was supposed to be watching me. I got lost and began heading back to where we were staying, a dome-shaped house of some kind. It was dark, but not completely, allowing me to make out a pair of bright yellow eyes staring at me. The eyes freaked me out, causing me to run and scream and cry all the way home. I told my father, but no one believed my story, and the friend's son was upset, thinking he had lost me. The yellow eyes did not resemble any animal I had ever seen before, and there was no animal silhouette, even though it was only about 10 feet away. The yellow eyes stared directly at me, and the experience left a lasting fear. I doubt the experience at times, but it was not an animal, and I have been wanting to share the story for years. Has anyone else had similar experiences? And that's where that one ends. And the answer to that question is, it seems like yes. This sighting of just the eyes, or lights shaped like eyes glowing, is fairly common overall. Whether it's cryptids, I don't know, or spirits, it's hard to say. But anyway, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening. I'll talk to you all next time on Salsidoparanormal. Take care.